everyone, Alexa Donne here, and today I am going to be finally talking about hard sell marketing tactics versus soft sell. I mentioned this in a previous video and people really wanted to hear more about it, and yes, I put this off because it's kind of hard to talk about. It's both a very simple topic, but a little bit complex when you kind of dig into it. And it's something that could potentially ruffle a few feathers. I certainly have pretty well-formed opinions about hard versus soft sell marketing. Certainly what I prefer and what I think works best, particularly when it comes to authors and YouTube, and that's really the lens I'm going to be taking. There's some top-level marketing lessons here because it's a broad concept. It's not original to being an author or selling books, but I'm going to contextualize everything through the lens of we are authors, we write books, and particularly we are on YouTube through the lens of AuthorTube. Though this does, of course, impact authors on all social media platforms. Any author who is trying to build a brand and sell themselves. So in a nutshell, hard selling is very aggressive sales tactics. It is directly saying, buy this thing. I have a thing. Buy it. Buy. Thing great. Buy. This is, of course, the default in a ton of marketing. Anytime you see a commercial for a product, makeup or pizza or what have you, that is a hard sales tactic. It's hard sales messaging if they're giving you product testimonials, a call to action, learn more, buy today, buy now. In the world of books, it might be from New York Times bestseller so-and-so comes the new such and such, buy now. That would be hard sales. But also sometimes using the hard sell can include guilt tripping and kind of emotional manipulation to kind of guilt people into buying a thing. That is something that you're usually, of course, you're not going to see from professional products and advertisements on television and what have you, but you are more often going to see it in the entrepreneurial space, which is when we kind of talk about authors. A soft sell is, of course, going to be softer than a hard sell. It's more oblique. There's a kind of a subtle art of persuasion, and specifically in modern marketing and branding, soft sell is very often literally getting people to like you or like a brand, and it's kind of like this build up of goodwill. And then maybe sometimes you remind them that they might like this product or need this product. And so you get a sale from the product, but it's not a direct sale. You haven't gone, buy this thing, buy. Here's a link. It might be more like, hey, I'm here. We're having a conversation. Oh, did you know that there's also this thing? I mean, if you're interested, you can find out more information here. Actually, I threw out the copy a little bit before this where I said learn more. That's actually a very good soft sell tactic, especially if you're pushing them toward a landing page, toward a sales channel. It can, of course, be used in active hard sales messaging, but it's a way to soften hard sales messaging. I use learn more messaging all the time in my day job for what I do. We do soft sell approach all the time in the area that I do, but we do hard sales approach just as often. So now let's talk about authors and books and so on. So if it's not clear, basically it's buy my book versus, hey, I'm here, I'm a writer, like maybe I'm on your radar, maybe you like my brand, and if you're interested, you might go organically go out and buy a thing that I have available, but I'm not directly telling you to go and buy my books. The temptation, of course, is to do hard sales because, well, if you're really direct and you provide people with links and it's very clear, like, my book is great, like, don't you want to read it, that you would generate sales. But the thing about brand building and marketing, especially book marketing, is that it is a very long game. And generally speaking, marketing, this is just the alchemy of marketing. It is an art, not a science. So there are tactics that go into it, things that you can learn and employ. Marketing is a subtle alchemy, and it's going to be very different for different products. You have to always pay attention to timing. So right now in COVID-19, Most marketing brands I know, particularly in the beginning, went to a total soft sales message. They moved super far away from hard sales messaging because it was just a very bad time. If you do hard sales messaging with bad timing, you can actually destroy your brand and end up losing everything. It's very apropos in the book world because something that I've seen over and over again is someone build up a little bit of goodwill. They lay the groundwork for their brand and for kind of building their platform, but they switch from soft sales to hard sales too fast. And they actually end up kind of burning away any goodwill that they built up. Even if they did get some sales out of their hard sales tactics, in the long run, you can actually lose a massive portion of your potential audience. Your engagement can drop. And if your engagement drops, they won't see any of your sales messaging in the future. So it becomes this kind of subtle dance and long game strategy of, honestly, this is where we get into what I feel works. Mostly you should be doing soft sales tactics as an author, building an author brand with occasional hard sales tactics. Like if your book is on sale for $2.99, of course you're going to do a hard sales message. But the second your platform, kind of the ratio is upset where the majority of what you are posting or saying or doing is buy my stuff or give me money, I need money, because what kind of factors into this can also be just any aggressive sales messaging. And that can include sponsorships when we're on Instagram or YouTube, any extra courses, anything that you are selling. If it upsets the ratio between that and your pre-established soft salesy brand, it can work against you. And by and large, in book publishing generally, we're seeing this phenomenon. It's been a while. We made the switch a while ago. For better or for worse, we're not just selling our books, we are selling ourselves. Things are so much about kind of who an author is, who you are, and how you connect to potential readership and existing readership. It's just as important as the book. And yes, that's very, very frustrating. But as a result of that, soft sales tactics have never been more important because you are literally, part of your job is to be yourself on the internet and in real life with readers. And the trick is, while readers, yes, of course, know that they are a consumer, although do they? That's not usually a word that the average reader would use to describe themselves. Consumers. Audience is a fuzzy, fun buzzword that we use for YouTube very often. It's like, it's a soft word, audience. But what many people mean when they say audience is potential sales, consumers. And readers by and large don't particularly enjoy being seen as targets, as consumers, as dollar signs more than people. There's this development that we've had of it's about the community, it's about our relationships, it's soft sell, it's branding, author branding, community branding. And this is why I think things do get so sticky when authors go for hard sell tactics, and more often than not, they can fail. Because when you commodify your reader too much, they get turned off and they go, well, I will just go hang out and follow and listen to and then probably buy books from someone I like a little more. Even corporations are getting in on this, by the way. We've seen a huge rise. Think about all the corporate brands that are basically fun now, or funny brands as people. Think about like Wendy's really funny Twitter feed. There are a couple other brands, corporate brands that do that very well. The feel-good ads that you see on TV that are reiterating how much brands care, corporations care about people, and they push that messaging, soft sales messaging, literally to get people to like them. It's relationship branding, so much of it. It's forging a relationship with the consumer, and it gets sticky when you remind them that that's what they are. Another facet of this, why hard sales marketing, a switch to hard sales tactics, can be a real turn off, especially in kind of the reader community, but especially on YouTube, is the second readers feel like you are demanding a lot of not just their time, but from their wallet, and that there's an expectation, this transactional, that's the word, a transactional relationship between you and them after you've built up an engaging relationship that is not transactional, of you expecting them to essentially support you monetarily through various means. Some people really bristle against that. People have varying opinions about kind of how they feel about side hustles, basically. Not just side hustles. There's selling the books, but also courses, workshops, editorial services, anything kind of within that realm. I did mention sponsorships on videos. We all know this just as YouTube viewers. This is outside the writing community as well. We've all had that channel we follow that all of a sudden 10 minutes of every video is a sponsorship message, and some creators are not really kind of good at being artful about it. There's some who I'm actually very impressed with how they embed their sponsorship messages, but it gets to this messy line in modern social media of like what fans owe creators. I'm not here to throw out firm opinions because I actually have very nuanced opinions about this myself. Like, I'm a YouTuber who is monetized, but just like think about that. Think about any situation you've had where you've kind of had a non-transactional relationship with someone and then they morphed their strategy and their focus and their platform more and more into money making. We've seen it over and over again in this age of social media. And so when you were thinking about, all right, I've built this following, isn't that why many of us start our YouTube channels? And like, it makes sense. It's this cognitive dissonance of like, yes, AuthorTube is for community, but it is also a platform tool. Any social media for an author is ultimately a platform tool. And what does that mean? Just be careful when it comes to basically deciding, well, now is the time to switch because I have a captive audience. They like me, they'll buy things from me. So now I'm gonna hard sell to them. As I already mentioned, sometimes that will backfire on you. I would actually say most often that's going to backfire on you if you really kind of miss the mark on your strategy, approach, and your ratio. There actually are some fantastic creators, authors, author-tubers who I think really strike that balance well, but then equally, I've seen some who I don't think strike that balance well. So it is a long game thing. Yes, we start our platforms to be platforms. Part of the point of a platform is to sell things, but I just want to stress, and if you watched my Does YouTube Sell Books video, you'll know this. Yes, it does. Yes, it can, but it is a super long-term strategy, and the longer you invest in that long-term strategy and remain kind of genuinely engaged as an actual person, yes, you're a brand, and it's about being a brand. But if you go too hard at that and then switch to a hard sell, you lose that kind of genuine quality and you end up throwing away a lot of work. I personally, so this is just my 100% my personal opinion, and to be fair, a thing about soft versus hard sell, it really depends on your personality as well. Some people are very good at hard selling and striking that balance really perfectly. I personally am not comfortable with hard selling, not hard selling myself. In my day job, I have no problem with it because I represent products and brands that bring value to people, and I know how to talk about that value. I still do very kind of person-centered and relationship and feeling centered marketing language. It suits my products and I like that. It suits me. I'm glad I'm not in a business like, you know, selling cars where I have to be super hard. Although even the car industry has gone person-centered and relationship marketing and like soft branding. But I personally don't like trying to sell you my books. If you've been here a really long time, you know that. I mean, I am an author. If you're on this channel, you can tell I have books in my banner, but I don't particularly enjoy the hard sell because frankly, yes, this is part of my platform, but I genuinely just really love giving advice and I'm here for the advice and I'm here to help people. It's just gravy for me personally if viewers' engagement converts to sales, and I like that balance, especially because something that I think is worth bringing up. This is where there is a divide between traditional publishing and self-publishing. It's very easy for me to tell you all of this and say all of this because I am not having to hard sell myself pretty much ever because I have a publisher, because I have a traditional publisher. It's their job to do hard sales tactics when needed. There's a sales team who sells me to bookstores. The bookstores themselves will do like displays and hard sell tactics. My publisher might do an advertising campaign, so on and so forth. And that is definitely an advantage of traditional publishing. If you do go trad pub, in part because you don't like the hard sale, and that was definitely an influencing factor for me. I was daunted by the idea of doing everything, especially hard sales. Then you can let your publisher handle a ton of the hard sales work so that you can just be that author brand and do the soft sell. It is much more complicated if you are a self-published author, and we have to acknowledge that. And thus, I am not the best person to give you concrete advice other than to be very, very careful of your long game planning and your ratio. It's hard to stick like a timeline on it, but I'll say based on my casual observations, I've seen some people, yes, on YouTube, do approximately a year, 18 months, 2 years of investment in a channel and a brand and growing, and then they switch to hard sales. And especially if it's less, that's not good. That, in my opinion, is a little too fast if it's a total switch. Like I said, everyone has to hard sell at different points. And if your book's coming out, you should be doing a hard sell. Every author gets to have a week or two, maybe a month of some hard selling. But I think what's important is making sure that your ratios kind of stay in check so that you don't turn off your audience. But what we've seen is that there are people who just very clearly and in a very calculated way started a platform to get to a certain benchmark to sell things. And that's where it gets really, really sticky. There is an art to the hard sell in self-publishing. And I recommend you find self-publishers that you admire, who you think do it well, and listen to them, not necessarily me. In the end, just remember that marketing and branding as it is, as we do it in the author world with soft sell tactics. In short, making yourself the product, which is such a strange notion, I know, is a relationship. Platform is relationship. Relationship-based marketing. And think about your relationships. Think about you as a consumer. Do you enjoy it when someone you previously had a pretty equitable, soft relationship with suddenly starts trying to sell you things constantly? I mean, to use a real life example, this is like a good friend of yours who you previously quite liked and respected and got a lot out of your relationship, suddenly messaging you, bringing it up every single time you see them in person, trying to sell you, say, an MLM. No one likes that awkward position where all of a sudden someone you previously had a non-transactional relationship with is like, buy for me, buy, I need to make money. Don't you want to support me? Don't you like me? Buy. It's so great. It's such a great product. That's a hard sell. And most of us aren't comfortable with the hard sell. There's a reason I think door-to-door salesmen went away, not just because of the internet. It's always been awkward when someone's trying to shove a product down your throat, but especially so when you're transitioning from what was previously a non-transactionally oriented relationship to a transactional one. It's basically, you gotta lower them like a frog into a boiling pot of water, slowly and surely. But hey, I say don't completely boil the water because you don't want to kill your frog. Sure, that metaphor works. And that's kind of how I approach soft sell versus hard sell marketing when it comes to authors and books. But of course, I do concede it's complicated. Nothing is cut and dry, and it's going to be something different for every author, for every situation, and depending on your publishing path. I think this one's going to be really, really interesting down below in the comments. Have you noticed soft sell versus hard sell? Maybe you didn't have the terms for it before. What are kind of tactics you've seen, sales tactics that have been a real turnoff for you as a reader, or the ones that really, really work for you, hard or soft? How do you kind of like to approach it yourself as an author or be approached as a reader? Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and I will make more discussion style videos about topics in writing and publishing. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. I post new videos 2 to 3 times a week. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and happy writing.